I've consistently said that Donald Trump would have done well if he kept DEI in progress and hired a DEI expert to help him hire his cabinet secretaries, because it seems like he is loaded with a group of incompetent buffoons as the people who run his government. You know, we have Hegseth, who is nothing more than an incompetent, drunk, and woman abuser. We have the others that are. We have a education secretary who doesn't know the difference between AI and A1 steak sauce. And now we have, of course, RFK, whose first report, major report, Make America Healthy Again, turns out to be nothing more than quackery and a fraud. And it's being called out by the professionals as people who supposedly are experts that are quoted in the paper, never wrote these paper, never gave access to these to any of the crap that he has within the document. So once again, the president maybe should have used DEI in his hire for his cabinet secretaries. Ironically, the three competent people that he have on his staff right now would actually, if a MAGA person went ahead and analyzed them in some other administration, they would say, oh, those are DEI hires. Because again, the competent ones are folks with Latin names, with a different hue, or with a gender issue, with a gender difference from what many would like them to be. Again, want you to listen to this piece, a very important piece, and then we'll take it on the other side.
New evidence that a major government report on your kids' health, one claiming to be rooted in gold standard science, is, according to experts, riddled with fake citations, non-existent studies, and questionable scientific conclusions. Analysis by the New York Times, the Washington Post, and others found that multiple studies used to justify the report's findings on everything from ADHD to prescription drugs were mischaracterized or simply made up. Some citations included digital markers that, according to the Post, prove they were generated by artificial intelligence. At least 21 links to articles and studies simply went nowhere. On Thursday, the White House tried to dismiss the errors as inconsequential, even while seeming to pin the blame elsewhere.
I understand there were some formatting issues with the MAHA report that are being addressed, and the report will be updated, but it does not negate the substance of the report, which, as you know, is one of the most transformative health reports that has ever been released by the federal government and is backed on good science that has never been recognized by the federal government.
And a quick follow-up, can you talk about what tools or research goes into production of these kinds of reports? For instance, is it AI that's used to put together these reports now?
I can't speak to that. I would defer you to the Department of Health and Human Services. What I know is just what I told you.
Well, the executive director of the American Public Health Association suggests this is about facts, not formatting, telling the Post, quote, "This is not an evidence-based report, and for all practical purposes, it should be junked at this point. It cannot be used for any policy making. It cannot even be used for any serious discussion because you can't believe what's in it." Maggie, tell us more about this report and the so-called evidence that it's based on.
So this report is was presented as a comprehensive look at children's health and the causes of chronic health conditions among children. What we found yesterday was that a number of the citations in this report either were riddled with errors. For example, they listed the wrong author, or the wrong title, or some such. And some of them were just fabricated altogether. They didn't exist. They had the title of a paper, they listed a journal name, they listed a date, they listed an author, and no such paper existed. So the the presence of these fabricated citations in the report obviously raises questions, according to the experts that we talked to, about the credibility of the report's findings. And certainly the researchers whose names were cited in the report attached to papers that they didn't write are very concerned about their names and reputations being used that way, and what it says about the underlying validity of the citations in the report.
So just to be clear, in short, there are entire papers that are cited that never existed. They certainly didn't exist in the journal they said, on the date they said, in the way they said. In addition to that, names of real people, maybe serious people, were used for things that they didn't do. Is that basically the bottom line here?
That's correct. We spoke, and Notice spoke as well, to a number of researchers whose names were listed in the bibliography of this report, saying, I'll give an example from our article, Catherine Keyes, a professor of epidemiology at Columbia. She was listed as the author of a paper about mental health and substance use among adolescents. And that paper that was cited in the report didn't exist. She spoke to my colleague, Danny Bloom, who is my co-author on this article, and said she did not write any paper by the title that the report cited, and nor does a paper by that title seem to exist by any author. And that's just one example. There are others.
Such good reporting and important reporting. So, Doctor, you've been working in healthcare, what, 50 years? You have an international reputation in children's health. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says these issues with the report, issues things like formatting, shouldn't invalidate the findings themselves. What did you say? What do you say?
Well, first of all, Chris, let's move away from the technical issues of actually a misinformed, lying document that was put out by the Secretary of HHS. And yeah, they lied about it. They fabricated citations. But at the end of the day, RF Kennedy Jr. is using this fabricated information to create policies and recommendations that affect the health of children. Millions and millions of lives will be affected by the nonsense that they put out in that report. It's really unconscionable. It's hard to believe. And I do think that people need to focus on what this means. And what it means to me is a reinforcement of what we felt from the beginning when RFK Jr. was originally suggested as a potential nominee for Secretary of HHS. He's unqualified, he's unscientific, and he's promoting crazy ideas that are bad for America's children. And don't forget, he has the biggest public health platform and megaphone of any human being on the planet, Chris. And this is what we have to deal with now. You know, if he was working as an academic researcher at any kind of medical school, for example, and put this out, he would have been fired. And I think the senators who approved this confirmation and the medical organizations that remain silent need to now call for his resignation. He cannot remain in that office using misstated data and really dishonest data to drive critical public health policy that will affect children.
So yes, Kennedy is a fraud. Kennedy is one of the biggest frauds we ever elected to government, and he's going to get people killed. Just like Doge and Musk got people killed overseas, this HHS secretary is going to get people killed in the United States of America because of his quackery, because of his lack of intellect. Well, the worm may be still in his brain. I don't know. But it is time, folks, for you to wake up, understand what's going on, and let it be known that you do know. Because if they know that you understand what's really going on in our government controlled by the authoritarian, the Führer by Donald Trump, then the Republican politicians that are currently scared of him would start to loosen up a bit when they realize that this is an emperor with no clothes.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel, and number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.